Hi, it's me, Bill, and I'm with Dave again, and it's the complete guide to coaching team tennis. And in this video, we're going to get into some guidelines for having an amazing pre-match warm-up and routines that aren't just a routine thing. They are built to help your team succeed, and they'll be unique and better than what most teams do. So I'm going to kick it off by saying the first thing is I require my players to be on the court hitting fully 30 minutes before the scheduled introductions of the match, because I know that even if they get there with 30 minutes to go, they're probably only really going to get 20-25 minutes of actual warm-up time in during that time, because there are going to be transitions in there. And I always save the last 5 minutes for something anyway. So Dave, what's your first big thing?
Our first big thing is that when we obviously have to be on the court at a certain time, just like a practice. Obviously, we get them out earlier. But the first thing we do is we get it right into our warm-up drill setting, just like we do in practice. So we're doing something that they're pretty much used to doing. But I like it because when a team starts to come in, like we talked about earlier, they start to straggle in, usually the opposing team, or they come on a bus, which I like it better when they come on a bus so I can see their whole team. They're already seeing our team in this incredibly effective, efficient drill pattern of warm-up. And you can see it in the eyes of your opponent. Oh my gosh, these guys are so well organized. It sets up a premeditated intimidation when players see that. So that's our first thing that we warm up before we start organizing our team into our talk, our introduction. I'll talk a little bit about our introductions here in a minute. So go ahead. What's your next thing there, Bill?
Okay.
I'll warm up.
My next thing is we start our pre-match with the same way we start practice. Because I like sameness, and teenagers need some routines. So there's nothing, so you're not like all of a sudden springing something weird on them.
Yep.
So they'll start by playing a little bit of short court, and they'll play those points out, and then they'll move back to the baseline. They'll rally, and I want them to have 10 full minutes of baseline rallying so they can get their rhythm going on their ground strokes. And then the next thing is then we make sure that they do 10 minutes of volleys and lobs and overheads. So one player will come to the net, they'll volley for a couple of minutes, then the other player will start lobbing to them and they'll get all their overheads in. And then the next 5 minutes, the other player gets their turn. So then one thing, this is huge. I want my players to have fully 5 full minutes of serving back and forth to each other, because what I see in the other teams is something that looks like the spider monkey cage at the zoo. You know, they don't know what to do. So they're like, hey, do you feel like hitting a few more? All right. And then what do they always neglect? They always neglect hitting enough serves to actually get warmed up. And then that's a built-in quick start for my team.
Yeah, I think that, again, that organization component of your kids know exactly what they're going to do. And I see that same thing of our opponents. When coaches come in, and this is something that's hilarious. I've got coaches that come in with no tennis balls. And they actually, hey, Dave, have you got some balls we can borrow to warm up? Well, guess what I have? I have a box of the deadest balls I can find in my baskets. I say, yeah, here's some balls, take them. You know, I actually give them to coaches. Say, you can take these with you. I don't care. And they're the worst balls, because if you don't have the coaching wherewithal to bring good balls, play like balls, I mean, we don't open up new cans just to warm up, but you know, get the idea. Then you don't deserve my best tennis balls to warm your kids up.
I don't like you anymore, Dave.
I know.
So
you
I'm actually much nicer than you. I make sure that our opponents have the same quality that we use. But I know a coach
That's their fault.
I know a coach near me who's like you. And so because he's like you, I always make sure to, when we go on the road, my girls or my guys always have 2 balls in their bag, 2 good balls. So they've got their own supply. So we have plenty for the way we warm up to make it happen. All right. So now the next thing is I also leave 5 full minutes for the pregame talk. And I do not believe in pep talks. I do not give my players any kind of rah-rah stuff. And it's really funny how dry the whole thing is. It's very routine. So I come out and I say, all right, everybody, singles players, get your first serves in, build your point cross court before you get creative. Wait for a short ball before you get creative. Doubles players, get your serves in down the tee. Net players, be aggressive. I mean, I say the same things every time. And then a funny thing happens as the season goes on. They start doing those things better and better because they know that the goals don't change.
Right.
But then I might, if we have a match against a specific opponent and we have game plans, I might say, okay, Stefan, remember, you're going to do this against that player. Brandon, you're going to do this. Evan, you're going to do that, right? Nikhil, you're going to do these things, right? So it's just a quick reminder of what we already talked about. And then if there's been some kind of locker room talk, some kind of like poster behavior by the other team, I might say, oh, by the way, guys, the other coach said this, right? But let's not make the match personal. And so then what do? So then teenagers, being rebellious, will make it personal, and my kids are generally play much better once they've done that. But I'm just like, hey, it's not a big deal, but here's what I heard the other coach say about you. So then we end our 5 minutes with this, and it's the same thing. And the kids say it with me. Today, confidence is my biggest weapon, right? I will give 100% effort, enjoy the competition, and show myself strong and wise. I learn from every match. I get 65% of my first serves in play, my feet in position for every shot, and continually pressure my opponent. I love a tough match. And for one team, we actually had to start saying, I love a street fight on the tennis court. And that was a very special circumstance.
Yeah.
But
I get it.
So what we're doing is, I think there's a strong thing in saying out loud the things that you want to have happen. Now, there was a word that was missing from all that, and I never use the word win or lose. All of those things are process oriented. These are the things that you do that make you successful. And at the end of the match, if they achieve those 4 things, give 100% effort, enjoy the competition, show themselves strong and wise, and learn, no matter what the scoreboard says, we're winners, period.
I love that. And we have a team's slogan, if you will, or cheer, but I'm with you 100%. When we do our team circle before introductions, we are simply, I'd probably even go even further to the relaxation stage. I always tell my players, you've prepared well. I've taught you well. You performed well in practice. You will perform well today. Have fun, smile, and be ready. And I mean, that's the extent. And then I further that because this is my main coaching position when I'm on the court, when my kids are playing. I try to be as relaxed and show relaxed to my players, who then tend to play very relaxed, very confident, that I have confidence in them. So I keep it very simple. When I do have to go out and talk to a kid, it's very brief, as we talked about many times in the past. So I'm with you 100% on that, Bill. That's critical to giving your kids a personal belief. And of course, having kids that really trust each other and are caring individuals goes a long way with the team feeling. The coach who just took over when I retired this year couldn't have chosen probably the worst things to do. in dividing their team up. JV practices separate from the varsity. The JV don't come and watch the varsity. I mean, it just freaks me out, but I can't control it. So I bring on a whole different thing, and the number of kids that have expressed that desire, that love of teammates, even the JV loving the varsity and the varsity loving the JV goes a long way in what we just talked about in your pregame
awesome
report there. So there you go.
Awesome. I have one more thing to add because there is one little nuance that I add once we start getting into playoff action, because I know that what teenagers start to do in their mind is they start to build it up and they start to say things like, I want to play my best ever today in their mind, right? And they're thinking that they're going to pull off a Roger Federer, Djokovic, Serena Williams, performance today, and they're gonna try to make themselves do that. So I kind of open the door to thinking about it a different way, and I say, look, because of where we are and the intensity of the situation, one or two or a few of you might actually play the best tennis of your life today, right? And if that's you, great, enjoy it and just go all out with it and be open to it. But if you're not having the very best day of your life today, still compete really hard. Just compete really hard and go with all the things that and you're gonna be fine. And what's interesting is that pretty much every playoff match we've had a kid or two just play out of their minds well, and we've also had a kid or two be sort of tight but compete their way out of it and come out on the winning end even though they were incredibly tight. So it works both ways.
Right. Yeah, I'll close with this statement. We tell our players, you have a crystal ball, and the crystal ball works, and you ask the crystal ball, how am I going to do today? And if the crystal ball says you're going to lose the first set, you'll be down in the second, and you're going to come back and win, will you be nervous in the match? No, because I already know I'm going to win, coach. Then that's how you play your match, because that gives you the affordability of coming from behind when you believe that you can win no matter what the score is. Thank you. Yes, please warm up that crystal ball. Is that a magic 8 ball? All right, so we're there.
I have a hard stop at